Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control life, the less peace you feel? Hey guys, it's John sitting here in my studio having a fabulous day. What if letting go didn't mean losing yourself, but actually meant finding your freedom? People crave the ability to control their experience. Why? Because it's a survival mechanism. They're trying to control the things that make their life positive. The idea of that control itself is based in the ideology of fear, of planning or fixing or predicting. And that survival instinct tries to make us control it. We put ourselves into a velvet cage of what we can manage. Predictability is what control thinks keeps you alive. But in spiritual growth, control is a blockage. You must learn to let go, release the stress. You are never in control anyway. That's Steve Maraboli. Let's talk for a second about the root of control issues. In childhood, we learned that pleasing authority kept us safe. And oftentimes, when a child feels out of control in their youth, they will become controlling people just to try to control their experience. I know one of my wives had a very divisive divorce in her parents when she was very young, and she became one of the most controlling people I've ever met because she was so afraid of not being loved and so afraid of being separate and so afraid of not pleasing the people that cared. And that was what gave her this need to control. And then you get into religions, and the doctrines often framed worthiness as controlling sin and thoughts. If you can't control how you react to everything in the world, then you're sinful and your thoughts are aberrant and you are worthless because you have subjected yourself to these sins of the doctrines. In societies that glorify productivity, planning, it also glorify things like, you have to look a certain way or feel a certain way or have the right amount of money in your life or believe the right political party or whatever it is. It glorifies this idea of productivity, planning, and fitting in, and makes it a control factor. And we try to control ourselves by trying to fit in. People often think that they're unworthy, so they're constantly in an endless self-help. And that's something that the culture has leaned into, promising control of every outcome with the next book, the next class, the next modality. There is a spiritual cost to clinging to control. It creates constant fear. What if it doesn't go my way? Think about that. Are you afraid it's not going to go your way? Are you trying to control it to keep it so that it'll go a certain way? Although when you let go, you release the blockages of flow. You don't allow spirit to surprise you. I often talk about the idea that how is not your job. The concept of how is a present moment belief that you're lacking. How is this going to happen? You're declaring it's not happening now. And that blocks the flow of coming because you're literally saying it's not happening. Let go of how. Let go of the attachment to how. Let go of anything. Your experience is going to be a representation of your belief. And it's going to come to you through the path of least resistance. And the less methods of control or how you put on that resistance, the faster it comes. And it will totally surprise you how it comes, because the path of least resistance is usually not the way you think it's going to be. This idea of control causes stress in relationships. As I said, one of my wives was a very controlling person. And what happened? She's one of my ex-wives. That controlling nature was not trust. It was not love. It was not compassion. It was control. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty in that relationship as well. I gave up myself for her control. I let myself be dictated by who she wanted me to be, how she wanted me to live, and where she wanted me to live. And I literally went to meet her expectations and gave her control. Well, that relationship could not ever succeed because all it would do was make me more depressed. She would feel just as out of control because that was her experience of life. She was coming from the subconscious belief that she wasn't in control. And so what she did was she tried to manage other people around her so that they couldn't hurt her. Joshua said, "Consider the lilies of the field and how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin." That idea that we are just in a moment. We're in a moment of creation. And the control that we can exhibit is the choice of what we're going to experience, the choice of what we're going to create. How it happens is not our job. Life unfolds without micromanagement. If you didn't have control, it was going to unfold anyway. And sometimes the experiences we're in are not in your control as well. I had a friend of mine who worked at a dinner theater that had a big pirate ship, and that pirate ship was beautiful. It was all dark wood and burgundy paint and gold trims, and it looked like a historical pirate boat. And one day she came in and the pirate boat was pink. They had painted the boat pink. And all of the cast was so angry about the pirate boat being pink. And my friend said, "Hey guys, it's not your pink pirate ship. It's not your pink pirate ship. It was the company's pirate ship. It was the owner's pirate ship. They're allowed to do whatever they want with the vision they have, right? Sometimes you have the attachment to somebody else's choices. Sometimes you get mad because you don't have control. Well, when you release the idea that you need control, you release the anger, you release the fear, you release the struggle, and you'll start to understand that control isn't always yours. And that awareness is expansion. You expand when you let go and you figure out what surrender really means. It doesn't mean that you're giving up to a more powerful force. It means you're just letting go of attachment to it. You understand in this situation, that boat is theirs. It's not yours. And so you release the attachment to it because you really have no stake in it.
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Coffee Time with John. This channel runs off coffee, so get your coffee and tea at johnsjoe.com.
There is this huge misconception that surrender equals weakness or passivity. The reality of it is that surrender equals trust in a larger current of life, that things are coming. Rumi said, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, even if you've not studied the weather." Well, studying the weather will tell you that this might happen and that might happen, but I don't know any weatherman that I've known in life and seen on television in life or heard on the radio in life that's been right probably more than 65% of the time, because they literally don't know. They say, this is the pattern, this is what looks like might be coming, but they have no idea what's going to happen. So here's another metaphor. So you go surfing. You don't control the ocean, you ride the wave. You get on your board and you follow the wave where it's going, and you play within the wave itself. You move your surfboard back and forth. You play with the motion in the ocean, as they say. So next time you feel like you're stressing and needing to control, exhale. Literally let the stress and the fear that are the foundation of control out. Just let it go. When you come back to that beautiful space within, you realize you didn't need to be stressed. You didn't need to have that control. You didn't need to have that experience. If you have things in your life that you feel stressed about, write down a list. What you can control, what you can't control. And then take that cannot list and say, okay, well, if I can't do it, that means nothing to me. Tear it up, throw it away. Because if you can't do anything about it, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You do what you can do. Listen to what you're saying about your present moment. And if you're saying something like, what if it fails? Replace that with, I am creating something amazing. I am succeeding at this. And every day as you're going through your day, find those situations, release control every day. What happens is over the course of 21 to 60 days, we create new habit. And the habit is we've become the creator rather than the controller. If you have belief in rituals, understand that all rituals only work when you believe they're working in the now. So if they work for you, great. Lean into them. I am creating something new. Align with that surfboard that's riding that wave, but understand that the wave is what's carrying the surfboard. I have a friend of mine named Jenny Brown. And Jenny, when I met Jenny, she was in a job she didn't like. She was surrounded by a situation that was not good for her emotionally. She was not being respected and had an office in the hallway to the bathroom. And Everything was just not what she wanted. When she let go of trying to control that situation, when she let go of the idea that I need to control or force them to do something to my liking, what happened? She ended up getting the life she wants in the place she wants. She moved to Florida. She's working with beautiful people who respect her. They gave her a big office where she gets to work in beautiful perspective. She gets to do yoga on the beach. She completely changed her life just by letting go of the control here and taking the creation there. And that's the key. Come back to this idea that whatever's going on around you, it's not your pink pirate ship. You don't control what they're doing. You get to control your experience of life. And when you choose to let go of the control of how it's going to happen, and you choose to just declare that this is what is happening, what happens is the path of least resistance shows you the new way. You don't micromanage it. You just declare what you're doing, let go of the how, and completely let it organically unfold. When you get into a controlling conversation, exhale. You don't need to be controlled by others, and you don't need to control others. When you find yourself in outcomes that are dictated by someone else's control, ask yourself, is it their pink pirate ship or mine? Even in your spiritual practice, there are many spiritual leaders that are out there who are trying to control you, telling you what diets you should follow, telling you what methods you should use, what mantras you should use, what the way you should pray, what you should believe. These are all just methods of control themselves. And you can release those controls and integrate your own truth. Ask yourself, where am I still gripping too tightly? Understand that tight grip is fear. Creation feels loose and easy. If you would release one thing a day, then it's simple. At the end of the week, you would have released 7 things that were controlling or you were trying to control. Notice the peace that follows when you let go of those things. And understand, when you notice that peace and you release that control, the next thing that follows is inner feeling of contentment. And that's what you really want, is you want to feel contented in life. So let go of control and be contented. Control promises safety, but delivers suffering. Letting go isn't losing, it's gaining freedom. As you're going through this process, comment below this video on what you're releasing or what you did release and how good you felt. Share the story to help others grow into their own expansion. And I think together we can expand our spirit and move forward. And I think that helping each other release control will help the world be more joyful. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.